Most people over 65 think high blood pressure is the danger, and sometimes it is. But what if I told you that, for thousands of seniors, the bigger risk isn't high blood pressure. It's trying too hard to lower it. That sounds wrong, because for years we've been told the same thing. Get the number down. Lower is better. Stay under the target. But a growing amount of research suggests the story is much more complicated after age 65. In fact, many older adults who successfully hit their blood pressure goals still struggle with fatigue, brain fog, dizziness, poor balance, and a feeling that something just isn't right. The strange part? Most never suspect their blood pressure treatment could be involved. Today we're going to break down exactly why. And by the end of this video, you'll understand one critical mistake millions of seniors may be making every single day without realizing it. But stay with me. Because the biggest surprise isn't about high blood pressure, it's about blood pressure that's too low, and the warning signs are far more common than most people think. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, how old are you? And what was your most recent blood pressure reading? Let's get started. The problem nobody explains. Imagine this. You're 72 years old. You take your medication every morning. You avoid salty foods. You attend every doctor's appointment. You do everything you're supposed to do. Then one day you stand up from your chair, and the room starts spinning. You grab the armrest. Wait a few seconds. And eventually the feeling passes. Most people blame age. But what if age isn't the real reason? What if your blood pressure has been pushed lower than your body actually needs? This is where things become interesting, because blood pressure targets were never designed as one-size-fits-all numbers. Yet, that's often how they're treated. The same target that might be beneficial for a healthy 45-year-old could create completely different effects inside a 75-year-old body, and to understand why, you first need to know what those two numbers actually mean. What your blood pressure numbers really mean. Every blood pressure reading contains two numbers, the top number and the bottom number. Most people know this. Few people know why it matters. The top number is called systolic pressure. It measures the force inside your arteries when your heart pumps blood. The bottom number is called diastolic pressure. It measures the pressure between heartbeats while your heart is resting. For years, doctors focused mostly on the bottom number. Then researchers discovered something important. For older adults, the top number often becomes much more significant. And that's because your arteries change as you age. When you're younger, arteries are flexible. They expand easily. They absorb pressure. They behave almost like elastic tubing. But decade after decade, that flexibility slowly disappears. The walls become stiffer, less responsive, less forgiving. And when that happens, the top number naturally starts climbing. This is one reason high systolic blood pressure becomes so common after age 65. But here's where things get tricky. Many people assume every increase is automatically dangerous. And that assumption has led to one of the biggest controversies in modern cardiovascular medicine. Let's talk about the study that changed everything. The study that changed blood pressure guidelines. A major study shocked the medical world. Researchers wanted to answer one question. Would pushing blood pressure much lower save more lives? Thousands of adults participated. One group aimed for a standard blood pressure target. The other group was pushed much lower. At first, the results looked impressive. Fewer heart attacks, fewer cardiovascular events. Doctors celebrated, guidelines changed, millions of prescriptions followed. Case closed, or so it seemed, because buried inside the data was something most headlines never discussed. The aggressively treated group experienced significantly more serious side effects, more dangerous blood pressure drops, more electrolyte problems, more kidney complications, more fainting episodes. And for older adults, those risks mattered a lot, because for a 40-year-old, a dizzy spell may be inconvenient. For a 78-year-old, a dizzy spell can become a broken hip, a hospitalization, or the beginning of losing independence. And that's where this story takes a very different turn. The hidden danger, standing up. Think about how many times you stand up every day, from bed, from a chair, from the couch, from the toilet, hundreds of times each week. Most people never think twice about it, until one day they do, because suddenly standing feels different. You feel lightheaded, unsteady, like your body needs a few seconds to catch up. That condition has a name, orthostatic hypotension, and it's far more common than most seniors realize. In simple terms, your blood pressure drops when you stand. The blood briefly pools in your lower body. Your brain receives less blood flow, and you feel dizzy. For younger adults, the body corrects this almost instantly. For older adults, that response often becomes slower, especially when blood pressure medications are involved. And here's the scary part. Most routine doctor visits never test for it. They check your pressure sitting down, not standing, which means the very problem causing your symptoms may never appear during the appointment. The J-curve, when lower stops, being better, most people think blood pressure works like this. The lower it goes, the healthier you become. Makes sense, right? Except that's not what researchers found. When scientists began studying large groups of older adults, they expected to see risk continuously fall as blood pressure dropped. But that's not what happened. Instead, they found something surprising. Risk dropped, then suddenly started climbing again. The graph looked like the letter J. Here's what it means. Very high blood pressure is dangerous. Everyone agrees on that. But extremely low blood pressure can create its own problems, especially after age 65. And one number appears to matter more than most people realize. The bottom number, your diastolic pressure. Because while your heart is resting between beats, something incredibly important happens. The heart itself receives blood. Think about that for a moment. Your heart pumps blood to your entire body, but it also needs blood for itself. And much of that supply happens during the resting phase between heartbeats. If the diastolic pressure becomes too low, that supply can become less efficient. Researchers have repeatedly found that older adults with very low diastolic pressure may face increased risks involving the heart, brain, and circulation, which creates a question nobody asks enough. What if your blood pressure looks perfect on paper, but isn't perfect for you? And that's where personalized medicine becomes critical, because the right number for one person may be completely wrong for another. Why one blood pressure? Target doesn't fit everyone. Let's say we have two people, both are 75 years old, both have the exact same blood pressure reading, 140/80. On paper, they look identical, but they're not. The first person walks 2 miles every day, lifts weights, has excellent balance, no major medical issues. The second person has kidney disease, has fallen twice in the last year, feels dizzy when standing, takes 7 medications daily. Should they have the exact same blood pressure target? Probably not. Yet that's often how medicine gets simplified. One number, one target, one recommendation. Reality is much messier, because aging is not a single condition. Some 80-year-olds function like people decades younger. Some 65-year-olds struggle with significant frailty. That's why more and more specialists focus less on hitting a specific number, and more on how the patient actually feels. Can they walk confidently? Can they think clearly? Can they live independently? Can they stand up without feeling like they're about to fall over? Those questions matter, sometimes more than a single reading on a screen. But there's one test almost nobody performs at home, and it may tell you more about your circulation than dozens of routine readings. If you take blood pressure medication, this is important, and it only takes 2 minutes. Tomorrow morning, before breakfast, try this. Sit quietly for 5 minutes. Take your blood pressure, write it down, then stand up. Wait 2 minutes. Take it again. Compare the numbers. Many people are shocked by what they discover, because while sitting, everything looks normal. The moment they stand, the pressure crashes, sometimes by 20 points, sometimes more, and suddenly symptoms they have blamed on aging start making sense. The morning dizziness, the fatigue, the brain fog, the fear of falling again. This doesn't mean your medication is wrong. It doesn't mean you should stop taking anything. It means you now have useful information you can bring to your doctor, information that creates a better conversation. And better conversations often lead to better outcomes. Which brings us to the most important question of all. This is where many videos give you a magic number. I'm not going to do that, because the honest answer is, it depends. It depends on your age, your medications, your kidney function, your cardiovascular history, your fall risk, your overall health, and most importantly, how your body responds. For some people, a lower target makes sense. For others, pushing too aggressively may create more problems than it solves. The goal isn't to win a blood pressure contest. The goal is to stay healthy, to stay mobile, to stay independent, to protect your heart and your brain without creating new risks along the way. And that's a very different conversation, one that deserves more than a single number. If you remember only one thing from this video, remember this. Managing blood pressure is not just about lowering a number. It's about balancing risk. Too high can be dangerous. Too low can be dangerous. The sweet spot is often somewhere in between, and finding that sweet spot becomes increasingly important as we age. So, before your next appointment, bring your home readings. Ask about your diastolic pressure. Ask about standing blood pressure. Ask whether your target was chosen specifically for you. Because the best blood pressure plan isn't the most aggressive one. It's the one that keeps you healthy enough to enjoy your life. Now tell me in the comments, have you ever felt dizzy when standing up? And what was your blood pressure reading today? I'd love to hear your experience.